some people jump in here. Hopefully YouTube picks this up. It says we've got 6 in here and 3 thumbs up, but I don't see any comments yet, so hopefully they come through. I'll let you know when I see comments. Looks like YouTube has some kind of a new look on the top. Shows dollar signs. Oh, I guess if that's people give you super chats and stuff. So it shows top fans. So, but yeah, throw some comments in here. I just want to make sure this thing is working correctly, because it shows a couple of new things on here I really haven't seen before. Oh, there's Rich. Okay. Yeah, they're coming in now. Hello, Rich. How are you? Ranger is in the house. Timothy's in the house. Hope y'all are doing well. I am in good old, well, I'm in part of Texas, but I'm in Bernie. If y'all have ever seen or heard of Bernie, it's right outside of San Antonio. That's where Demolition Ranch, Matt from Demolition Ranch lives. Donut Operators out here. Brandon Herrera's out here, and Bunker Branding is out here. It's like, Bunker Branding's like 10 minutes from me. Hello, Unit 4, how are you? So, and I had a lot of people who were like, you going to Bunker Branding? I was like, yeah. I mean, not that I don't think I don't think anything's wrong with it. It's just like, I don't need to go buy a bunch of shirts. But I think that's cool if you do support the YouTubers you like, you know. And I like them, I'm just not gonna buy shirts. No relation to Bernie Sanders. It's Bernie, Texas. What's up, Scott? How are you, buddy? Yeah, but it's actually a cool area out here. They have a Lamborghini dealership. They have a Ferrari dealership. They have a Porsche dealership. They have some pretty high-end cars out here. I don't know if they have a Rolls Royce, but you know, I think Lamborghinis are cool. Ferraris are nice, but they got a lot of mechanical issues, or have in the past. What's up? JJ is in the house. Rich B says today is 2 weeks since my knee replacement. Things are going well, slowly but surely. That's awesome, Rich. Yeah, definitely keep me in the loop on that, because man, I'm gonna eventually have to have it. So keep me in the loop and let me know your opinions on it. My mother, like I said, had both of them. Hey, what's up, Chessboard? How are you? Says, hello, Big Johnson. Hope you're doing well. I slipped on ice and crushed my right ankle and fractured my tibia. Staples and stitches removed Monday, 6 to 8 weeks. Damn, no pressure on leg. Holy crap. Man, take care of yourself. Damn, that sucks. Yeah, I heard Scout Motors just a wee bit behind in building their factory due to technical issues, with the issues and being nobody wants the EV and everyone wants the hybrid. Yeah, and there's rumor. I mean, we have a contract with Scout as well, because they're coming out with the truck and the EV version and stuff like that. But I've heard, that now they're even thinking about, and this would be cool if they did. I don't know if they're going to. But they're talking about potentially maybe making a gas version as well, like an EV version, a gas version. Man, a gas version in that Scout, that would be really cool. So I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if they're going to do it, but there's a rumor going around. So Unit 4, it said, isn't Ferrari picky on who and what they sell to customers? Yes, they are. They want you to buy the lower Ferrari first and then work your way up through the tiers. However, if you're like some rich, mogul, or you own a bunch of companies, or you have tons of money, they can let you skip in line, but they are very, very selective. Like if I walked in, they'd be like, hell no, you're going to buy the low bottom of the barrel one first and then have to work through the tiers. But I've heard even some rich people kind of buy, a mid, not the lowest, but they buy like a mid tier and then they can go up. So I guess it is what it is. Rich B says, I can tell you already the new knee is so much more stable than the other one that they replaced. Yes, I still have pain, but also stability now that I didn't have, or didn't have. Yeah, and I don't have a whole bunch of stability in my right knee, but I don't have an ACL either. And it still gets swollen periodically, not monstrous, but when I stand for a long time is when it really kind of gets achy. But it is what it is. Scott says, thought it was Ferrari made. You buy a used one before they'd sell you a new one. Yeah, it's something like that. But the way I understand it is you have to buy the lowest tier Ferrari. If they approve you, you buy the lowest tier Ferrari, then you have to move up to different models. They want you to become a Ferrari collector, so to say. They won't start you out with the top, unless you got a bunch of pull. Unit 4 says, thank goodness gun stores aren't like that. Got to start with a high point. Yeah, or a Jimenez. You got to start with a Jimenez, then you can get a high point. Man, I remember those Jimenez. Holy crap. Those things are like freaking pot metal. A buddy of mine bought one for like $40. The little Jimenez pocket pistol. It was crazy. You load it, put the mag in it, and you wouldn't even like touch the gun. You would just like kind of lay it in your hand, and the mag would just shoot out whenever it wanted to. You did not have to push the button. It would just shoot back out. It was crazy if it was loaded. Yeah, starting with the Sky. Those are pieces of shit. Rich says, so now I'm 100% titanium knee guy. Both of them been replaced. Did the other 2 years ago. That's awesome. Yeah, you're gonna be the $6 million man. But yeah, we got 19 on, 8 thumbs up. Yeah, but I'm out here in Bernie seeing dealers and working with General Motors. So, it's been really good. Saw a bunch of customers so far. Going to see some more tomorrow. Also been eating, I don't know if y'all familiar with puffy tacos. I always have them when I come to San Antonio because they're kind of known for that. But we've tried 2 places so far with the puffy tacos, and one was my OG, and we went there today. And man, they're really good. If you never had a puffy taco, it's kind of like a taco shell, but it's puffed. Instead of being hard or soft, it's kind of like puffed out, and then it's the normal taco filling. But there's some really good ones out here. Ranger says, "Hey, don't throw shade on my Yeet cannon." There you go. That's funny. My local has a couple of new stock Colt carry handle AR-15s or AR-2s. Thinking about picking one up. Yeah, I mean, I think Colt is really, especially with their OGs, they were really cool. But when they threw that thing out, civilians can't own it, and tried to pull that HK thing, I was kind of like, screw you guys. But Colt makes good ARs. And of course, now CZ owns them. So. I don't have any hate, but when they made that statement, I was kind of pissed off back in the day. I think that was like 8 years ago or something. I don't remember exactly, but I remember when they did that. Didn't Ford once require that GT40 buyers not sell their cars? Yes, they did. Matter of fact, their new GTD, they're requiring that as well. You couldn't sell the GTs, the GT, it wasn't the GT40s, it was the GT. The real GT, not the GT Mustang. You had to keep them for, I believe, at least a year. And also to get them, you had to own a dealership because all the dealers bought them. I've got a dealer that has 3 of them, and they're his personal collection. All my Ford dealers usually have one of them that they've personally bought. Or you have to be an influencer. You have to be like followed on social media. There was all these criterias, and of course have a ton of money. But that new GTD is freaking awesome. That thing is crazy awesome. One of my dealers just got one, and I'm like, holy crap. Jay Leno was going to start buying 5 Ferraris so he could keep the Enzo, or get the Enzo. Yeah, when they tried to charge him $3,000 for floor mats on the first one, he walked out and doesn't own a Ferrari. The Enzo is awesome. That thing is awesome, but I've only seen one of them in person, and the guy let me sit in it, and it wasn't comfortable. Not that a lot of those supercars are, but it's a really cool looking car. I've never driven one, so I don't know how they drive personally. John Cena got sued by Ford, yeah, for selling his new production GT40. Yeah, there was, I think Cena sold his, and there was somebody else. Somebody else sold one, but I can't remember. But yeah, Ford was pissed off and said that they would never be able to buy another one. Yeah, Unifor says don't meet any of those requirements. Guess I'll have to be satisfied with the GTD diecast. Yeah, me too. I was gonna say I don't have that. I don't have that kind of following, but you know, the original GT, with the V8, that one was badass. When they got into the six-cylinder, dual turbos, I mean, they are really, really cool. But I don't know, I just like the old GT, man. When you put an exhaust on those things, they are awesome. I went to Gas Monkey. I had to drop some stuff off for Richard back in the day. And when I went to Gas Monkey, they had that black GT that they were tricking out. And not trying to name drop or anything, but, just trying to tell you about the car. And man, they fixed that thing up badass. They were still in the process of doing it back then, but it's been done. It's a really cool car. But I do like that GT. Now, of course, the old GT Daytona, that thing is really awesome. But good luck finding them. They're millions of dollars now. Rich says, we'll be curious how the Canic Prime Radian Ramjet performs once it's released. I really like my Canic Prime comp I have now. Yeah, like I was saying, I'm really interested in the Canic Prime Radian. I think that one, not that I need another polymer gun, but I think that one will be pretty cool. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what, like when they get out in the wild and everybody starts shooting them. I have a buddy that's supposed to get one. I think they told him they were going to send him one. So if they send it to him, he'll do a review, and then I'm going to try to shoot it against the Radian versus the regular Prime, even for my personal, before I buy one. And I already asked him, and he said, yeah, if I get it, you're more than welcome to shoot it. So, hopefully I can kind of film maybe something while I'm shooting it to see what I think about it, just as a teaser. Unit 4 says, oh, please tell us a Gas Monkey story. I've got a few. Not hating on anybody, but a couple of them aren't positive. Navy Vet, how are you, sir? We might do that on I've met Chip Foose, and, he actually built a car or we paid him to build a car for, well, anyway, there's some stuff I probably shouldn't get into. But yeah, I've met Chip Foose, Rollins, God, who used to be with Rollins? What was his name? The technician that left, the main guy, Kaufman. Met Kaufman. I know, oh my God, Dennis. I know Dennis, that has his own YouTube channel. I know a bunch of those guys, and I'm not dropping names. I'm just saying I have dealt with those guys. I have a Ferrari story for you. Oh, Navy Vet has a Ferrari story. Awesome. Yeah, Aaron. Yeah, I had a brain fart there for a second. Aaron was super nice. The guy is like super, super nice. Super, super nice. I'll tell you one real quick. I dropped off some product that Richard agreed to put on one of his shows. And so I went over there, met with him, met with the girl, I can't remember her name, that was in the show that had the tattoos. She used to run, she was on a lot of the YouTube or the videos when they were on the TV. But she has a lot of tattoos, really nice lady. Met with her and all that, dropped off the product, met with him. He's like, yeah, we'll put it on. Never did. Went back, met with him again, followed up, Like I said, but I've got some fun stories, had some drinks with him, shot the shit. He was, nice during that, but it's just like, yeah, give me this, give me this, give me this. And I just flat out told him later I wasn't going to give him anything else. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to see, Barnes. I wanted to compare it to my CR920 XP. So when I shot it against the Prime, the regular Prime, I was going to compare it also at the same time to my CR920 XP to just see which one. And I know it's a little bigger than the XP, but I did want to try it against that gun specifically. Yeah, that's pretty much Pranic. Pranic, you pretty much nailed it. Yeah, Aaron was genuine, super, super nice guy. Hello, Lynn Holt. How are you? Said TSS Arms Corporate is investment in the U.S. will be relocating to Buford, Georgia. Same gun separated from SDS. If interested, buy now while they're cheap. Can you see a $1,000 TSOS? Yes. And then also Kai. I don't know if y'all heard, but Kai from Classic Firearms. He just put out a video. He is actually going to be the CEO of TSOS US in Georgia. So Kai, I don't know his last name. I can't remember, but and I think he has a channel also where it's a Turkish channel. He has his own personal channel. He's got his channel, then a Turkish personal channel, and then he's going to be running the Georgia division of TSOS. Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear sold his GT40 because it was too wide on British roads. I've never met him. I've never met Jeremy, but he's funny. I've never met him. I met Stig. What's his name? They, uh, the race car driver that did the Stig for Top Gear. Um, he's the old Formula race car driver from back in the day. Anyway, I met him. Michael, it wasn't Michael. Oh crap, what was his name? I can't remember. Y'all probably remember. What's up, Mario? How are you, buddy? Primary Arms has the Expo Arms AR bulk carrier group for 190 beans, and it's in their hard chrome one. That's not a bad price. Man, I remember I loaded up on BCGs back, in the good old days when they had, um, it was the Carpenter, it's just their standard ones, but some of them were nitride coated. Um, and I got those. I think I got them for like 59 beans or something like that. I mean, I think I bought like 4 or 5 of them. What's up, M. Gabriel? How are you, man? Thought Kaya was his last name. Okay, that is. I'm probably screwing it up, for. But yeah, Kaya is going to be the CEO. Yeah, I'm sure they will. Ben Collins. Who's Ben Collins? I'm not sure who Ben Collins is. Was it Ben Collins? I didn't think that was his name. Stig. Anyway, yeah, but I've dealt with Dennis, from Gas Muck here that been on the show. He has his own Jeep restoration shop. Um, and I mean, he's an okay guy. Childhood friend of mine's son won the Testarossa Award last year at Ferrari of Houston. Josh Klug, Master Ferrari Technician. Damn, that's awesome. Yeah, good to see you too, Mario. Michael Schumacher. That's who it is. Yes, Scott, you're correct. It's Michael Schumacher or Schumacher. Yeah, you're right. Yep, that's him. Yeah, I met him and Mario Andretti, and we were sponsoring an event way back in the day, and a bunch of those guys were there, and it was pretty cool. They were really nice. Yes, if they get assembled in America, expect. Yep. I don't know if it'll be 6K, but it's going to be a lot more. Ben Collins is the OG Stig. Okay. They did have Michael for a time. Okay, I haven't met, I'm sorry, I haven't met Ben Collins. I've only met Michael Schumacher, or Michael. I haven't met Ben Collins. So, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying, Printing. All that money Dennis spends can't just come from the dealership. No, I mean, it's not even a dealership. It's actually a Jeep restoration shop, and they do, I mean, you can look it up. They do, he buys and sells Jeeps, fixes them up. They do retro mods for Jeeps. They repair like 4-wheel drives, transaxles, stuff like that. And they also sell a lot of Jeep parts, even used Jeep parts. Um, but yeah, I think he's got his hands in everything. Matter of fact, his kids I think it's his daughter. Uh, she's at the shop. Have been at the shop mostly, but they're nice people. For that side. Our Andretti years ago, short dude. Yeah, all the Andrettis are pretty short. I think that's cool that they're getting into Cadillac too, for Formula One. I don't make anything for Cadillac, but I'll tell you, I can really appreciate the Cadillac, the Blackwing Edition. That's a pretty damn impressive Cadillac. I think it's really, really cool. Yeah, most of the Indy drivers are little guys. It's kind of like those, the horse racer or the jockeys. Man, we went to some horse races back in the day, and I was like, wow, these guys. I mean, they were really cool, but man, they're like little bitty guys. And I think they have to be under a certain weight and all that other stuff, if I remember correctly. But I never really got into horse racing. Lynn Holt says, realistic. How long should a turbo last before serious issues? Well, there's a lot of variables on that, Lynn. How often did you change the air filter? Because that's very critical for turbos. The oil is very critical for turbos. But the spools and turbos aren't built like they used to. Okay, they used to be built like bulletproof and they would last forever. Now, I mean, I've seen them fail at 60,000 miles, and I've seen the bearings go bad and they'll get wobble. I've seen them fail at 60,000 miles, a few before that, and then I've seen them fail, after 100,000 miles. It depends. It depends how hard you ride them too. I mean, you can burn some turbos up quick. I have had turbo vehicles before. I'm more of a supercharger guy personally. Nothing wrong with turbos, but you get turbo lag, and you don't really get that with superchargers as much, or spooling, so to say. Now, of course, the turbos are better than they used to be back in the day too. Not as much lag. Hot Rod Caddy, they are bad. Those suckers are fast. I drove one. I was thinking about buying it for my wife, and it was, what was this one? I think it was 640 horsepower or something, and it was quick. And it's light. I mean, it's a light car for what it is for a Cadillac, for a four-door. Weight is the enemy. Small, just like fighter pilots, yeah. Lubrication, cooling, yeah. Great observation, Big J, on the turbos. Why is that? What part of why is that? I don't know which part you're asking me. I know about the turbos, but which part? I mean, you've got wastegate. If you don't have a good intercooler, turbos can fail. I've always made, and it depends on if you're going custom, like you're building a race car, or you're saying, just dealing with a stock turbo, like a 3.5 EcoBoost. I am not a 3.5 EcoBoost fan. I'm just letting you know. I've seen way too many of those fail. So, Lynn, if you're talking about specifically 3.5 EcoBoost, not a fan. I would definitely go with a 5.0 in a Ford truck, if that's what you're talking about. Let's see. I feel like a big factor is letting them spool down after driven. Yeah, I mean, they don't really need a true cool down. That's what I'm saying. If you're changing your oil regularly, changing your air filter, cycling it, like while you're driving it, don't just keep it at a constant. You've got to cycle it up and down, like boost it, go on and off periodically just to keep it well lubed up and all that good stuff. I mean, again, I've seen older turbos go way past 100,000 miles, but now and especially, I'll even say this, if you have a small, like a 4-cylinder turbo, you're keeping your foot in it harder to keep the car going or the SUV going because it's underpowered. And the turbo is boosting it, but I like having a bigger motor to pull the vehicle than having it boosted to pull the vehicle, if that makes sense. It's hard to explain, but a lot of them are underpowered and they add the turbo. And then it's like you should have got a damn V8 because you're using as much gas because you keep your foot in it and you got the AC on. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Zeus says even 2 years replace your turbo with a bigger one. He's exactly right. If you're dealing with a diesel, for sure, always go with bigger turbos. And you can do it too on a lot of the imports. You can put performance turbos on them. But if you're dealing with a bigger intercooler, that helps a lot too, if you're building one. Rich B says, your thoughts on a Chevy Tahoe versus Suburban, basically same vehicle, just Suburban larger. That's exactly it, Rich. They're both great vehicles. Honestly, the older Suburbans, I had a Z71 Suburban. I mean, great vehicle with the 3, perfect, perfect performance. I wish it, I would, well, let me say, I don't want to say perfect. The 5.3 engine back in the day was bulletproof. They're better. They fixed the issues. Mostly it was the 6.2 that was having the engine problems. Some of the 5.3s, I think they've gotten around that and got it fixed. And it was really a part failure on a vendor's part. It wasn't really Chevy. Chevy doesn't build like rings and pistons, and they get them from vendors. Just like I'm a vendor for General Motors, but not in engine stuff. But anyway, the old Tahoes are awesome. The old Suburbans are awesome. It just depends on if you want a bigger one or the Tahoe. That there's really not much difference. Now I will say this: in the 5.3, the Suburban, because it's bigger and it's heavier, it feels more underpowered. That's the only difference. Why turbos just don't last like they used to? Okay, on the turbos, you have bearings in there. They used to use Purvis bearings. That's one of the biggest bearing manufacturers in the US. They used to put a lot of Purvis bearings, which were awesome bearings. Well, then they started cheaping out using China bearings, Canadian bearings, things like that. So they pulled a lot of the Purvis out of them because of the expense to cheapen, to save money. When they did, the bearings started failing and you get wobble in the shafts. So a lot of the turbo failure is from the bearings. Now, granted, running clean air helps, keeping them lubricated helps, but they're just not built like they used to be built, just like a lot of things. So that's just kind of it. Eco boom. Yeah. And the bad thing, man, on the Eco Boost, if you replace one turbo, I mean, you pretty much got to do them in pairs. Each one of them, what, 5-6 grand? I mean, they're just not cheap. Big J, would I only like turbo on a 4-stroke snowmobile? There you go. There you go. Turbo creates more stress on the motor. Yeah. I mean, anything can, superchargers can too. A lot of people drive them like they stole them. But I've just always been a supercharger guy. And I used to race a car back in the day, and that was the turbo craze. But that's also when they made good turbos. And then I went to superchargers and just kind of never looked back at turbos. But my daughter has a Mercedes that's a turbo. And, knock on wood, I mean, it's probably, it could take a poop any day. But I mostly am a big V8 guy, so. Unit 4 says, I've had 3 older turbo cars in the past, didn't like the lag. Yeah, lag is a big thing. I never could, even if you adjusted it, because I could go in and tweak it for the lag. Now on the new cars, the new turbo cars, you can actually go in and program some of the lag out, and a lot of them just come that way to where it's not as lagged like it was before. But you could adjust the throttle positioning sensor. I could tune it to take some of the lag out, but it would never take it all the way away. 4-cylinder turbos tend to go boom because they're usually boosted pretty high to make up the fact that they lack displacement, correct? Pranic, those small turbo engines are terrible. Always running at high load on rotating assembly, which means more wear. Exactly. I mean, that's when you get into V8s, I'm just always been a V8 guy. A replacement for displacement, yeah. Yeah, man, I've seen, and now here's the thing, and I've seen it. I have seen people take the Honda engines and put monster turbos on it and pull a shitload of horsepower. I mean, I've seen some of these little Honda Civics just putting out like 600 horsepower. Now, granted, they're street cars, they're race cars, and they will scream. But when they blow, they blow. Cough made in China. Coffee. Yeah. Zeus says Works holsters lifetime warranties legit. That's cool, man. A lot of holster companies, even Armsman, he has lifetime, I believe. But I just don't break holsters. I mean, I carry just every day like a lot of people do. Oh, a lot of people want to know the carry. It is the Shadow System CR920XP this week because I've been doing meetings and I needed a smaller, thinner gun, so to say. What is up, Pop Doctor? Go over and check out his channel, guys and ladies, if any ladies are in here. Pop Doctor's putting out some good stuff. And he got the Gen 6 Glock 45, so he's going to be doing some testing and giving his opinion on it. So if y'all are interested, go check it out. Pranic says, I broke a holster. I have only broken, let me rephrase that. I've never broken a holster, but those old plastic bullshit clips, I've snapped so many of those. It's crazy. Those things are shit. That's why you use DCC metal clips, discrete carry concept metal clips. I have never broken one and been carrying them for 5 years. Never broken one. Oh, with the exception of the 320 holster, yeah. Zeus says I break everything. Yeah, let's see here. He said, Rich says, I saw where the government is going to do away with those shut off at idle switches or whatever they're called. Turn out it was a big hoax on the gas savings. I know they are annoying. Yeah, Rich, I talked about that. They're shit. When they came out, I was like, these are freaking garbage. They don't do shit. All they do is wear out your fucking starter. Excuse my language, but that's all they do is wear out your fucking starter. And they're shit. They're complete junk. And that's the stupidest shit. Every time I get in this new Chevy, I got to push the freaking button for the auto shut off, and it's stupid. It's the dumbest shit ever, and that was an Obama thing. And the cafe, it was all cafe, and it was just cafe bullshit. And, I had a friend of mine who had the Ford with the auto start. Yeah, he had to replace a freaking starter at like 60,000 miles. And it's because of that stupid button. I mean, you don't need that shit. It's so stupid. What is up? Reloading from the hot pot. How are you, buddy? Oh. 2JZs with the forge internals can be monster engines. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Where's the starter and the battery? It's just stupid. All inline 6 engines are great. You are exactly right, Pranic. Those, especially, I'll throw it up. The freaking Jeep, straight 6. Now they had oil leaks because the valve cover gasket, but it's a cheap fix, super easy fix. But man, I have literally seen those with 300,000+ miles on them. To run. They just run like hell. And I highly recommend them. But, some of the best engines ever made were the 350 Chevys, the straight 6s for the Jeeps, the Cummins 12 valve is probably one of the most bulletproof diesel engines ever made. Ford had some. The 460 was a great engine. 351 Cleveland was a great engine. The 5.0 is a great engine. But, yeah, some of them are just stupid. Zeus says suppressed AR-15 or no. It depends on what you're going to use it for. Now, here's the thing. You can put a suppressor on AR-15 with 223, 5.56, and it's not going to be quiet like a 300 Blackout. Definitely takes some of the crack out for sure. So it will make it quieter. But it depends on what you're going to use it for. If you're going to use it for just ripping, I would recommend a break all day. If you're just going to use it for plinking and stuff like that, hell, an A2 bird cage is fine. If you want to do it for hunting, and I would want to keep it quieter so you don't chase off everything, so I would probably run it suppressed. So it just depends on how you're using it. But to make it so, oh my gosh, it's going to be so super quiet, because I had a guy that I knew, and he goes, oh, I got me an AR-15 and I got me a suppressor. So that was movie quiet. And he actually said that term, movie quiet. And I was like, are you high? Are you on crack? Because it will not be movie quiet. Even if you run, like, found some really heavy ass subs, or, like, and I don't know, I've never ran anything over a 77 grain in an AR-15, so I really don't know, but I'm like, it ain't gonna be movie quiet. Not like a 300 blackout, of course. Pop Doctor says, speaking of Hondas, I drove a Civic for 150,000 miles. I gave it to my dad afterwards, and he has over 200,000 miles. Couldn't kill it. You can't. Those little Honda engines and the Toyota 22 REs, I mean, they're freaking bulletproof. If you change the oil in them and just kind of keep an eye on the timing belt or change it at 100,000 miles. And some of them have timing chains now, so you don't change them. But, I mean, yeah, they're great, man. Yeah, I've got a buddy, Unit 4, who has 2 old Cherokees, and he uses them for rock climbing, and he needs the low torque. And both of his have the straight 6s, and man, they've got a crap load of miles on it, and it still pulls great. I mean, for what he's doing with it. One of them he drove on the road forever, but yeah, they're great engines, man. Some manufacturers are going back to straight 6 because they realize it's the only way to make torque. Yeah, V6 just doesn't do it. That is correct on some of them. Always suppressed, protect your ears. Yeah, and I agree with the Pop Doctor. I mean, I do. Like I've got an AR-15 that I just use for shredding, just like if I want to go out and just lay down some noise and really rip. And it's got a Lantac Dragon on it, and that is one of the flattest brakes I've ever tested, or comps, however you want to say it, is called a brake, but they call them both. It's fun to shoot super fast, it's super accurate, but yeah, if you want to save your hearing, suppressors help with everything. That's true. You have a train going by? No, it's this fucking air conditioner. Oh, look, I stayed in this room because it has orange curtains. No, this damn AC cycling off and on. The VW 6-cylinder, yeah, I've never been a huge Volkswagen fan. Not that they're horrible, but some of their stuff, their parts and replacing shit is crazy. And that's another thing. I really, the rotary engines, I am not a fan of rotary engines. Those things are a pain in the ass. Not saying they won't last some, but man, when they take a shit, it's a big shit. True Prince, I worked at 2 Honda facilities, impressive, but not the same. Let's see here. Saw Humble did a video on the Romulus 2011, supposedly a budget 2011. Ever shot one? I have not shot the Romulus. I've heard some good and some bad about it personally, or from people that I trust. I look at it this way: you could get a Romulus, and I've played with them. I mean, they seem pretty nice. I had talked to them at one time because they reached out and were like, "Well, you want to test one?" And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." They were like, "Okay, just reach out to this particular lady or this particular person." So I called that person and talked to her, and I didn't have enough followers. And I'm like, "Well, why did you reach out to me in the first place?" Because I was shooting a bunch of 2011s in a video. Like, I don't know, I had 3 of my 2011s and I was shooting them. And they were like, "Oh, we really enjoyed this video. Would you like to test one of our guns?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." But this was when it was way back. But anyway, I haven't personally shot one, but I look at it this way: for buying it, even with the frame, the barrel, and all that other stuff, you can change the internals. If anything took a shit, you could change it, the ignition kit to EGW. You could put different springs in it. You could put a toolless guide rod in it. You can do some things to it. So it would, and I don't know what their warranty is. I can't remember, but I mean, it might be an okay gun. Orange is fast, yeah. Had a mid-80s RX-7, lots of fun and a ton of RPM, yeah. I raced an RX-7, but it wasn't a stock RX-7 back in the day. And I'll tell you a vehicle that is super underrated and you can make stupid fast. Um, a G body, you know, the old Monte Carlo SSs or the old Cutlass Supremes, like the Grand National body or the T type. You can buy some of those, the Monte Carlo SSs, still pretty cheap, and you can put an LS in them and just make them stupid fast. I mean, for like on a budget. Or you can put a 350 in it and make them extremely fast. Um, but you know, just an old school 350. But yeah, I've got a buddy, you know, who's like, man, I got to get a race car, but I only have X amount of money, and I'm like, get you a G body. So he found one, and it was a Monte Carlo SS, and it had a 305 in it. And back in the day, 305s were fast, and it was an SS with a 305. Um, and so I pulled that engine out of him, and he bought a used LS. Was it LS3? Can't remember which LS it was, what generation, but anyway, put that thing in, and it was very fast. Guy finished that four rotor RX-7 during the COOF. Yeah. Yes, that 80s Monte Carlo SS motor has to go. Yeah, they're pieces of shit. I mean, the only one I would keep. Oh man, I went to high school with a kid who had one. His dad worked for Buick, and he bought. I don't want to say the name because there weren't too many of them, but or his name, but he bought him a Grand National GNX, and he drove that to high school. And I was in a big four-wheel drive truck, and I mean that thing was stupid fast back in the day. First time I seen a Grand National, I asked a guy why it had a Jiffy Lube logo on it. Oh wow, yeah, that's good. That is what it looks like. But I remember the Typhoons. You know, the Typhoon was just the SUV version of the GNX, but man, those were fun. And one of the fastest cars, and I had one of them. I had a Mitsubishi Conquest TSI. So they had two versions. One was Mitsubishi, and one was it a Starion? I think it was a Starion or something. But I had a Mitsubishi Conquest TSI. I put a bigger turbo in it, bigger intercooler in it, took the wastegate out. I mean, that car was stupid fast. Stupid fast. Matter of fact, an 18 wheeler ran over the whole front of it on LBJ in Dallas and took me into a bar ditch. He came over in my lane and just ran right over the front of the car. That was like way back when. But I had a buddy who had a Talon all wheel drive, and we souped that car up, and it was stupid fast, and he could beat me. I could hang with him for a while, but that thing off the line, it was all wheel drive. So, and mine was rear wheel drive. So he would hit it off the line, and he would take me, and then I had to try to catch him. But that thing would always pull me. But that little Talon was stupid fast. Let's see here. I was stoked back in the day to see the 84 MCSS come with a bench seat, old school, yeah. Well, it's like I've talked about it before, but the Chevy 454 SS truck that had 220 horsepower factory. GM hated that those setups existed were supposed to be faster than the Vet, yeah. Starion and the Conquest, yeah, same. It was the same vehicle. One was a Mitsubishi, and what the hell was the other one? It was a Plymouth? I don't know what the hell it was. I can't remember. Yes, Mitsubishi 3000. I do remember those. Those were some cool looking cars. And then they had the Dodge Stealth. So it was the Mitsubishi 3000 and then the Dodge Stealth. Or was it the Chrysler Stealth? But I had a buddy who had the Stealth. And I had the Shelby Z too. I had the Daytona Shelby Z way back in the day. And that car was fast too. And it was a 4-cylinder, but it was fast. But yeah, I used to, then I had an IROC Z. What the hell year was that? 92 or something? I don't know. What I think it was in the 90s, but it was an IROC. And that thing was, it wasn't stock. Yeah, Dodge had the Stealth, yeah. Yeah, we had a white pearl Stealth. or a member of my family did, had the white Dodge Stealth, and it was fast, or it was pretty fast for what it was, but that Conquest would just dominate it. It would just kick the shit out of it because it was a lot heavier. The Stealth was a lot heavier and bulkier, but they were cool cars. So I always enjoyed, a lot of those cars back in the day. But I was a musclehead guy. I mean, I had a Chevelle, I had a Nova SS Chevy 2. A lot of people just called them Chevy 2s, but it was officially a Nova Chevy 2. But it was strictly for racing. I had a 70 Charger, or excuse me, a 70 or 71 Cuda, but it was just the body. It was a rolling chassis. And then had Keith Black build the engine for it, but it was a tubbed car. It was not street legal. Trying to think of the cool cars I had back then. The Chevelle was cool. It was a 454. I had a 442 Oldsmobile Cutlass 69. Had the 400. I mean, it was the real deal, a real 442. And I kept well, when you looked under the hood, it looked stock. However, it had a cam in it, had headers on it. That was the only difference. And a tuned carb. Had a 650 Holley double pumper on it. And an Edelbrock high-rise intake. And the hood would just clear the air filter about that much because of the high-rise on it. 76 Trans Am. I never had a Trans Am. I had a buddy who had one, and it was fun. It was a 455. I'm sorry. Yeah, my 442 had the original 400 in it. And on Chad's, he had the Trans Am, and he had the 6.6, so it had the 455 on it. And we tricked it all out. What is up, Indie Irish? How are you, man? Yeah, 70. Yeah, Trans Ams were fun as shit. What year was my Chevelle? Was it a 72? I can't remember if it was I think it was a 72, I think. It had vacuum on that one. Rocket 455, yep. Now, the HO, the real Hurst Olds, the Judge, they had a Judge version too, that had the 455 rocket. Yeah, it was a gold engine. Yeah, I love the Hurst Olds edition they came out with in the Oldsmobile, the black and gold. Man, that was one of my favorite cars. Something, I guess it's Ranger's getting after some people. Okay, because they were flashing for some reason. I was like, why are those messages flashing? But they said they were deleted, so maybe that's why I was doing that. I think my favorite car I had was a 68 Dodge Charger 383 Magnum. That's a great engine. My dad had a 70 Charger Plum Crazy Purple with the 440, but it was not a 6-pack. But it was all original, completely restored. It was a 440 4-barrel, but it was all stock. I tried to soup that car up. I mean, he had the window sticker, he had the data plate. Matter of fact, that vehicle, probably 5 years ago, you can go to Barrett Jackson, and Barrett, it was a Pendestar car, if you know what that means. It means it meets all the rating of the day that it was built. So the height, the door jambs, I mean, this thing was a 98% spec car with everything. It won shitloads of trophies with it. And I did some of the stuff on it, but that car was amazing. And it had the white band on the back. But there is, and I can maybe find it on YouTube, but it went through Barrett Jackson, and they told him that he wouldn't have to pay anything to run that car through there because they really wanted it. So they ran that car through Barrett Jackson, and it did very well. There were only 6 Chargers that were Pendestar rated in the United States. And they wanted that car bad, and he was ready to sell it. He was getting older, and I mean, you had to be careful where you drove it because people would rubberneck and try to drive into you. You know, it was pretty crazy. Had a 75 HO Cutlass, mainly decal package, but it was a W30. Yeah, W30 is a hell of an engine. Swivel bucket seats. I do remember those. Man, there was another car that had the swivel buckets. It was the big long one in the back. I can't remember the damn name of the car. Oh, it was the Oldsmobile wagon, wasn't it? Didn't the wagon have swivel? There was a special edition Oldsmobile wagon where it had the swivel seats in the front and in the back. I think it was I can't remember the name. It was an Oldsmobile wagon and it had the W30 in the wagon, but it had swivel seats in the front and the back. Oh, I love the Malibu. Pranic saying yes. Yeah, Malibu was a great car. My dad had a Le Mans also. Oh, one of the best cars my dad ever had. He had a 57 Chevy, two-door hardtop, 283, all original, with fender skirts, black on black. This freaking car was unbelievable. I still have, when he ended up selling it, I still have the backup spinner that I have in my garage. It's hanging up on my tool bench. I still have the original spinner. I mean, I have some of my own stuff, but I have the spinner, and then I have my license plate frame for my '69 Cutlass. I have like little trinket parts. Like if something would break, I might keep it. My dream car. What's your dream car, JJ? The Malibu? My grandpa had a '74 Monte Carlo with swivel bucket seats. Yeah, 454. Man, bringing back some days. It's kind of cool talking about cars. I hadn't talked about cars in a long time. My mom was too cheap to buy the Malibu. She bought the, I can't pronounce that, but I do remember those. Yeah. Malibu, I mean, man, they had some good looking Malibus. I mean, my dad had a Roadrunner too at one time. The Roadrunner had the 383. Or was it a Roadrunner? I'm pretty sure it was a Roadrunner. No. It was the Coronet. It was the Coronet. That's what it was. It was some special edition Coronet that he found and he just had to buy. And I think he had a Le Mans back when he was young. Hell, he even had a Corvair, an air-cooled engine Corvair convertible. It's Corvair Spider. And I just, now I was young, you know, so he had already sold it off, but, you know, as I got older. But anyway, I remember seeing pictures of it and I was like, and my dad's not a big guy, but I'm like, how the hell? That's a little ass car. But it was funny. Corvair, but his was the Spider. Thanks, Pop Doctor. Take care, man. My uncle had a 1970 Roadrunner with the air grabber hood. Yeah, I remember those shaker hoods. I like to have a 72 or 70 to 72 Monte Carlo before I'm told to drive one, a gentleman's hot rod. Yeah. Yeah, what was the other one I'm thinking of that had the headlights that opened? Like, you know, they kind of like split in the middle? The Riviera. Man, those Rivieras were freaking cool. Uh, they kind of like all blacked out like a mobster car. And I used to love those Rivieras. Spent a lot of my youth in a 72 Monte Carlo, the best feature bench seats. Yeah. Monte Carlos, man. My mom had a Monte Carlo. I'll tell you the worst car my mom ever had. Holy crap. I'm like, why did you buy this? And I was a little kid. She had a freaking Ford Pinto. My mother. Now she was, you know, they were divorced. But she had a avocado green Ford Pinto with avocado green seats and plastic flooring. And that was the biggest piece of shit car, but they bought it new. Oh my God, that car was such a hunk of shit. You know, back in the day it was brand new, but I was just like, God, this car's horrible. Dodge Charger 69 RT, yep. As I was saying, my dad had the 70 RT. Yeah, they're great cars. Rich B says, so do you think there are any cars built today that 40 to 50 years from now people will be talking about them? Honestly, no, I really don't. I mean, I've been asked a similar question, like, man, what do you think? I really don't. I don't think so, Rich. No, they don't build them like they used to. So I really don't. I can't imagine any, unless it's some kind of a supercar or something like that. But yeah, there's not one I can think of today. Um, AMC Pacer was worse than a Pinto. It was pretty bad. Now we'll tell you one that will surprise you. Um, AMC Pacer, yeah. Uh, I'll tell you one that I loved, and they were so underrated. Is the AMC Javelin. If you don't know what one is, look it up. But it's the AMC Javelin, and this thing had a 390 in it, and they were fast. They were fast. Now you could take those and really soup them up, but the Javelin was so underestimated. People look at it and go, "Man, that's weird." And I even did the same thing when I was younger. I was like, "That is just a goofy car." But the more I saw it, the more I saw the performance in it and what it could be done to it, I was like, "That's a pretty cool car." I mean, you didn't see very many of them because they're pretty rare. But the AMC Javelin, didn't they race the Javelin? Yeah, they did. But they were really weird looking. And a lot of people were like, "That's ugly. That's ugly." But man, those things were fast. I passed on so many Javelins in the '80s. Yeah, because some of them were just ugly, but they had like two special editions that they came out with, and I was like, man, that one looks pretty sweet. Like they had the track wheels and had a little fin on the back, like a little stand-up fin, and they made some of them look really cool. Some of the Gremlins were fast, yeah. I had a buddy of mine, and you'll probably laugh. I think I've told this story before, but he had a Pinto, a Ford Pinto, and he goes, "I really want to hop this thing up." So we extended the front end and we put a 302 Boss in it with headers, and they were dumps. The headers would go under and they dumped right past the front fender. And they were 3-inch headers on this 302. And that thing would freaking scream. It was ugly as shit. And we had to put ladder bars on it because it wouldn't hook up in the rear. We put a Ford truck rear end in it, a 3/4 ton rear end. It was shortened, different axles, and a Ford truck transmission in it. But man, that thing was super fast. The 2-seater AMX, yep, I think that's it, Unit 4. But yeah, that little Pinto would haul ass. It beat so many freaking cars. But yeah, Gremlins were some of them were fast. You know what's crazy? We had it on my grandfather's farm. We had a old military Jeep. Y'all have probably seen them. If I remember right, weren't those things like a 3-cylinder? It was like a 3-cylinder. It was slow as shit, but it was just all metal. It didn't even have a roof on it. It was an old, like true Willys Jeep. And we had that thing, and I swear, we never changed the oil in it. We would just add oil. Never changed the oil, never did the diffs, never did anything. The only thing we'd have to put batteries in it periodically, to start. The thing always ran. If you need to jump it, it would start a lot sometimes, but if the battery was too dead, it wouldn't. But you'd throw a battery in it, the thing would start, and he drove it all around that freaking property. And it was an old Willys Jeep. They called it the military postal Jeep. He bought that thing for like $500, and I swear it was on the farm for 10 or 12 years, and it still ran. It was crazy. I want to say, was it a 4-cylinder? Okay. Yeah, for some reason, I kept thinking 3, but because it was a little ass engine. I mean, I think it was probably only putting out like 100 and something horsepower. I mean, it was tiny. That's what it was. It was a straight 4. But yeah, it was a crazy little Jeep. But man, that thing, and it was a standard. But I drove that thing all around. I think that's one of the first standards I ever drove. I think. Yeah, it was. I drove that thing around on the farm when I was like 10. But I was tall enough to reach everything, and my grandfather would be like, "Yeah," he taught me how to drive it one time. He's like, "Just go out there and drive around." And I think, if I remember right, I don't know. Yeah, no, it had a shifter for the 4-wheel drive, if I remember correctly. It's been so damn long. I've slept a lot since then. But we got 20 people on, 17 thumbs up. It is 8 o'clock. But no, this was fun, man. Talking about cars and stuff like that. 62 Studebaker Avanti, yeah. I remember the Studebakers. I was never a huge Studebaker fan. I mean, I remember them. And Impalas were big too when I was younger. A lot of people had Impalas. It was a flathead style with points, I think. Yeah, like I said, I never worked on it personally. I never like tore it apart and did any engine work on it. I would just always throw a battery in it if I needed to, and it'd start right up. And top it off with oil. Pull the dipstick and chug see. My grandfather always say, check, make sure the oil's full. So if it wouldn't, I'd pour some in it, take off. Matter of fact, in the Jeep, I think we had like 2 quarts of oil that just sat in there. In case we ever need it, and if we used one, we'd throw another one in there. He had them in the barn for the tractors and shit. I'm sure it was probably some straight 30 weight shit that he had. He was a big 30 weight guy. Had a Gran Torino 351 Cleveland, fun car, yep. A buddy of mine had one and we named it the Feather. A lot of people don't know that was the Starsky and Hutch car, was a Gran Torino. And I think they ran the 351 in that one. I saw the actual car from the Starsky and Hutch show. It was just at a car show one time, and they had all the pictures and the VIN number and showing that it matched, but that was the Starsky and Hutch original. Flying Tomato is the name of that car, they called it in the show. Yep, let's go to the Flying Tomato. That was a cool car, though. But a buddy of mine had one like it that he ended up getting from his grandmother. His grandmother gave it to him, so he drove it to high school, and we named it the Feather, and I gave him this little feather to hang from his rearview mirror, just making fun of him. But it was still a cool car. But no, this was a lot of fun talking about cars, because it brings up the good old days when cars were just fun to work on, and well, I won't say everybody, but most people could work on those cars. Nowadays, you can't work on them like you used to be able to. It was said that Paul Michael Glasser hated that car. He probably did. Back in the day, climb into the engine compartment and change the plugs. My grandkids can't believe that. Yeah, I mean, hell, my grandfather had an international truck, like the big international truck. And I remember I was a kid, but I was a big kid. I'd jump up on the hood. I'd jump up on the roof. I mean, I would jump. Never put a dent in that freaking thing. If I did that now, I'd go right, or, if kids did that now on these cars, they go right through the hood and right through the roof. I mean, that was solid steel back in the day. Is Armsman in here? I didn't see him. Did I miss him? Oh, what's up, Armsman? How are you, man? Yeah, what is this, a car channel now? Hey, man, I just enjoy talking about different stuff. Cars, barbecue, whiskey, guns. We're just a man channel here. No, I'm just joking. I know we have some ladies. But, it's fun to talk about different stuff sometimes. Usually if you like guns, you like cars and trucks, and I love trucks too. I had a bunch of trucks, step sides, some of those trucks I had back in the day, I wish I had now. Yeah, this was a fun chat. I got to go take out the trash. Well, have fun, JJ. So, but yeah, I'll go ahead and shut it off. It's 8:03. And of course, if you need some awesome holsters, check out the Armsman. You can use my discount code BJGG10. That'll save you 10% and free shipping. He just gave that code so y'all could use it and get a discount. So I appreciate him for that. And hopefully we can push the Armsman to start doing some videos on his channel. He's got like 100 subscribers or something, and he needs to start putting out some videos for everybody. With the fit, the function, all that good stuff. I think people would enjoy seeing a lot of his holster videos. So, but we'll go ahead and shut it down. I appreciate everybody. Y'all smash that thumbs up. If you like what you hear, and if y'all have any ideas for another chat, throw it in here. Or if you watch it after the chat ends, throw it in there. It's always good to, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Unit 4, it does. Puts me in a good nostalgic mood. So I will steal your comment because that is exactly a great comment. Anyone pimp their ride? Hell yeah. We used to always pimp our stuff out. But I remember that show too was fake. So thanks, Ranger. I appreciate you, buddy. But y'all have a great night. Be safe out there. Also, if you haven't talked to anybody in a long time, you need to check in on them. Please do. weird stuff's happening. We want to make sure everybody's good to go. But we will do this again next Wednesday. I'll be local next Wednesday, so we'll have a good chat. Also, I forgot to say this. I'm checking out two vehicles for a show right now, an F-150 because it is a Ford show. So I'm checking out an F-150 and a Bronco four-door four-wheel drive. So getting those two tricked out. So I've already ordered all the parts for both of them, put them in the system. They're going to ship them to the dealer. Dealer's going to upfit them, and then I'm going to put them in a show. And then after the show, I give them both the vehicles with all the shit on it for free for them letting me use it. So we're going to, it'll be a good Ford show. So that's coming up like the middle of next month. But anyway, I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all have a great night. Be safe, everyone. And remember, an unarmed nation is a very weak nation. So all got